Is there any further discussion? We'll proceed to vote by roll call.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Dussault?
No.
Mr. Gillen, yes. Mr. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Yes, have it.
There are some other changes that you will see when I give you this next version. They're more cleanup things than anything else. They're not substantive. For example, one of those is in that subsection 5, which would be dealing with the waivers. Originally, it was, there was some added text in there that really is not necessary. So at the end of that 5, any waivers accepted and approved, you're right where you're at. Approved by the township shall be recorded at no expense to the township with the county's register of deed. That language is tweaked somewhat. It's more cleanup language than anything else. I just wanted the planning commission to be aware of it. But I'll denote all of those in a red line so you can see where changes have been made. Okay.
We'll get it, yeah.
Okay, on this slide I put together what I had gleaned out of the noise issues and listed them, hopefully as everyone has perceived it, the state standard being 55 dBAs. The developers would like a 45 dBA, and the draft ordinance calls for a 45 daytime and a 40 nighttime. The IICC is asking 35 dBAs or less. So with that, we'll go back to the draft.
Mr. Chairman, I see no need to change what we've arrived at already.
If that's 45 plus 5, that isn't going to stay 45? Is it?
In which section? From
From your decimal?
from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Full copy.
Are you talking about under F2? Sound pressure level permitted shall be the ambient dBA plus 5 dBA.
Plus 5, that isn't going to be 45, is it?
It is. It's only during short-term events, short-term weather events.
I'll make a motion that, under audible sound, that we leave it at what we've arrived at, F1 and F2.
Is there support to that?
I guess the concern I have is how do you, what are you gonna do at 6 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, whatever the cutoff time is, they're gonna have to tone these things back? I mean, how do you regulate it? I mean, how can you run it at 45 during the day and at night you gotta shut it down at 40? I don't understand how that's possible. And I don't know enough, I'm not a wind expert. But generally it calms down at night, you know?
If the wind was, say, blowing 10 miles an hour, and it's 45, and you turn 10 o'clock at night, we could change the decibel level.
You guys are the one who changed this one on me. I'm not taking responsibility for that. Hey, look, I'm happy to make it 1 dBA limit all the time. If you want me to change it in that fashion, I'm happy to do so.
I'll drink to that. But I mean,
There is, in terms of enforcement, you will see that we have altered the enforcement language to provide some additional enforcement procedures in there, and how we're going to go about enforcing it. But I don't disagree with you, you're right. I mean, the ordinance is only as good as you choose to enforce it. So, but that's with any ordinance. So,
I'm just wondering how you physically can lower the noise level, you know, at a certain time of the night.
I think that may be problematic.
In trying to, I guess what I it appears that this may make a monster trying to record and, you know, the difference of 5 decibels, turn that down and to be in compliance. So it would really make enforcing this, I think, a tremendous burden on the township. Because they would be the enforcers, right?
Yes. Yes, same way.
So,
It's just like, it's like, and I don't know how it was before we missed something we talked about, but, I mean, there was some suggestion that they, by adjusting, they can make adjustments to cut back on torque or whatever, that, so then physically it's potentially possible. And I think that was from the naysayers, I mean, that side of the board, the name said that, okay, they turned back when you listen to it, so it must be physically possible.
Yeah.
So that might be something, maybe it's not cranking, it's not as much physically possible, there's always the extreme, there's always off. So, I mean, it's always potentially possible to change it from 45 to 40.
well, they do it.
They don't have a choice. That's why you have an ordinance.
And who's gonna be there to say, hey, I think that thing was 5 decibels louder than it was in here?
According to the ordinance. I think, are you in the township board?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
I'm afraid of when all these people are gone, we're gonna still be, we're gonna make you bad.
But it's not any more than your water system. I mean, you're out there trying to regulate that and work with pumps. I mean, somebody's out there every year trying to, so, we're trying to make things work. And I know we have a representative here who's on board because he lives with something that we didn't have an ordinance in place to regulate, which is now we're trying to do. So sounds an issue.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I want to make sure that the planning commission understands this. Other than this height limitation that you have on accessory structures, you have no regulation in place now. This ordinance doesn't permit the activity, it's already permitted, it's already a lawful use. What this ordinance does is regulate it, because right now you have no regulation other than a 40-foot accessory height limitation in the ag district, which frankly, in my opinion, is lacking in substance. So, You need these regulations, you need some regulatory measure, otherwise, they can put them anywhere they want, they don't have setbacks. Like, other than your standard setbacks for maybe accessory structures, which I'm not sure it's gonna hold up, so, it's important to understand, you're not permitting this activity, it's permitted. What you're doing is regulating it under your authority to regulate it under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. So, one of those regulations you can place on it is noise. You can regulate the noise, it has to be reasonable. What's reasonable? You have a range between under 35 to 55. Somewhere in there is reasonable. The measurement right now is at the property line. We discussed why you want it measured there versus at the principal structure. It gives you that much more protection. So,
And those who are participating could allow them closer and.
right. Now, if you want to have one limit, then I would suggest to you 45 dBAs plus 5 in inclement weather or short-term weather events is the standard to use. If you want to keep it at 2, and it's physically possible to break apply a brake measure, to the speed of the blade itself, which would decrease noise, then you can use 2 standards. But I think generally, conceptually, what you have here is probably fine, conceptually. The only difference is, you need to decide whether you want 2 sound limits, one for night, one for day, or just one.
Noise travel left here at night, there's no feedback.
The ambient noise.
So you had a motion.
We have a motion on the floor. I don't have a second.
Keep it as is.
Yeah, we need a second for that.
You can vote on it.
To hold on, or to-
I'll support it.
Is there discussion on the motion that's on the floor? I guess the thing that, I'm all in favor of lower decibel levels from the standpoint of, I think that Paul brings up a point, at night the background noise is less and sound will travel further. I guess my question though is this going to be impossible trying to regulate it? Is that something that?
I don't think, sound meters are not uncommon. I guess if you're hitting a noise consistently higher than what we regulate, then it should be easily defined.
Well,
I haven't gone through your